Hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. I am Patrick,
And I'm Paul. How's it going?
and together we are Hear Us Out. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I've never done that before, and I kind of wish I hadn't done it now. I'm
Oh,
Paul turned superhero into Kung Fu Master or
I'm,
Vogue.
yeah, I was gonna say Vogue maybe,
Well,
but
Paul, let the good folks at home and all of you lovely folks who are joining us live or in the future, let them all know what we're going to be talking about.
so today or tonight we're going to be talking about which is movies that kind of release around December and November to kind of advertise their toy lines or like items that can be turned into toys and stuff like that. Which is so that they can obviously pick up some stuff for the December kind of like Christmas craze and stuff. But we're also going to talk about some movies that definitely seem like they should be kind of releasing around the November kind of December thing to do that, and maybe why they don't and stuff. So
Ooh.
yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Well, I think it is going to be interesting, and I'll be honest with you. We have really, really pushed the boat out on our kind of Christmas episodes this year. We started
Mm.
off by assassinating Christmas movies, and now
Yeah,
we're going to assassinate the industry for why maybe they're so greedy or not. Maybe it's not greed, as to why they might cash in at this particular time of year. I think next year we're going to have to be genuinely ho 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 tastic and be like super pro Christmas.
yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because we have been slightly anti. We've been pro Halloween and anti Christmas in a
Yeah,
weird way, you know. I said we've switched them around. I don't know.
yeah,
We've
and
switched them around a little bit.
honestly, I love April because that's when Paul lets me do car stuff on the channel. So yeah,
Well,
that's my Christmas, everyone.
that's what I let you do. Yeah, it's
Well,
it's in the contract.
you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Uh, you have Halloween happen once a year, and gosh darn it, there is no car day.
That is
I think
true.
I've got an idea. Hallmark, get
We'll
away
just
from it. They're my greeting cards. So, Paul, what angle do you want to start with first? Where do you want to start with this?
Well, like yeah, so we all know in the past and stuff, and nowadays that movies kind of release around the kind of mid-November to kind of like early December marks to kind of maybe captivate a good audience. Now, obviously, COVID has kind of like changed that around for 1 year, but we're going to leave that as is and go for the kind of status quo of normality. So yeah, they release around mid November, which goes to early December, specifically to kind of advertise maybe some vehicles or spaceships or people to kind of get people excited to maybe sell some toys during the Christmas craze.
Yeah.
Um,
I was about to
there's
say vehicles that could perfectly be miniaturized and made out of injection molded or blow molded plastic, to be boxed up and sold by the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, like that's the thing. And also you might see a trend of movies that are based on toys that also come out around this time as well. Which is but there's certain outliers to those kind of things as well, because there's certain movies that don't come out around this time that seem like they're perfect for kind of the toy selling markets and stuff like that. And we'll go into reasons why they do that specifically. And also there's franchises that kind of split their marks as well.
Well, can we not let's not bury the lead. Let's go with the big obvious thing that everybody's thinking of when you think of Christmas movies, merchandise, or even just movies and toys in general. And I think it's fair to say that's Star Wars. So
Yeah.
from a Star Wars point of view, and loads of people are going to be pointing out that, oh, well, actually, Star Wars, the original trilogy, came out in May. Well, that's because the original films didn't know necessarily they were going to create the merchandising craze that they created. So why did the prequels then come out in May? That's because George Lucas was still in charge, and May the Fourth be with you. It all works. Star Wars was big enough then that they were going to sell toys anyway. So it's interesting to me, Paul, that the final three, the last three movies, were in December and became a December release, but not a November kind of build up to sell the toys, even though they still had time because they were at a point in December where they could simultaneously launch toys. What do you think the shift or the history there from the movie that invented the merch toy craze to their final films being, well, let's have these things be Christmas event films?
Well, see, this is the interesting one because Star Wars is kind of the main is one of our main ones. since they were bought over by Disney, Disney has a weird marketing thing of essentially advertising certain toys prior to the movies. So like certain toys that were going to be certain vehicles and certain ships and stuff like that that were going to feature in the film, because we all know like the Millennium Falcon's going to be there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those toys were like already being advertised and stuff, but there were certain other things as well. There was the which because some of the dark like the new aged versions of the stormtroopers from the First Order, they were advertised as well prior to the movies as well. I think certain things that they were allowed to get away with without giving too much away about kind of the storyline or anything like that were advertised a little bit prior to it, and that's a kind of Disney model thing.
Mm.
So that you get this kind of two-way thing, which is they don't have to release their movie in November because they're not trying to build up the movie to show you the toys. They've already showed you the toys.
Yeah.
But they also know that there's collectors there who wants to get the stuff quickly, as well as parents and everything like that. So they've got a pretty good market and stuff like that. But they've also got that third factor,
Ooh.
which is the fact is that they're showing things about the movie that we may not have seen. So they're building intrigue about the movies as well. So it's a kind of like inverse advertisement process.
Yeah. And I
is
think that's why Star Wars is the. And we won't, for anybody who doesn't like Star Wars, don't worry, we'll be moving on in a minute. But I think it's the perfect microcosm, particularly in the Disney era, as you pointed out, Paul, of the entire gamut of what can be done. So they have an existing franchise that doesn't need advertisement. Everybody knows Star Wars. The last three films, the buzz was created. They weren't exactly going, I hope somebody notices we're making another Star Wars. That was already done. But they have got multiple layers of people to sell to. They've got the kids' Christmas toys. They've got their branded T-shirts and their, little plastic figurines, just the little fun toys and Funko Pops, up a level. And then they've got their actual like collector's items, the 2.5 foot tall Stormtrooper, the real kind of limited run of 50, but they actually cost, $2,000 a piece sort of art items or collector's items. So they've got that whole range. And as you say, they know that when they send something to their toy company, the manufacturers, there will be a certain leaking process, which doesn't actually hurt the hype of their movies. And weirdly, they are the perfect example of people who are aware of that in the other direction as well. With The Mandalorian for Disney Plus last year, remember Disney Plus didn't exist, as in it hadn't been launched. When Disney Plus launched and The Mandalorian came out, day one, Baby Yoda blew up the internet because nobody knew. And how did nobody know? They didn't actually have a Baby Yoda Christmas toy when Baby Yoda would have been the hottest Christmas toy. And that was a creative decision that, fair play to them, they let Jon Favreau make, apparently, to say, we're not making a toy. The toy will get spoiled. There'll be no way we'll keep it under wraps enough. And now, a year on, season 2, Baby Yoda's still around, and they're selling Baby Yodas like hotcakes. So they got to eat, both ends of the cake there. They got to keep it all hidden. Good artistic choice. Then they got to basically keep the franchise going with a second season, make Baby Yoda just as cute. In fact, I think I have a little Yodes here. Do I have a little Yodes? Let's get him on screen. Oh, little Yoda. So, they're the masters of this in every single way.
Yeah, like they have that kind of pull and stuff, as well as, and Jon Favreau has become kind of like the kind of, I guess, expert in kind of artistic kind of vision of series and movie kind of stuff. So it's kind of trusting him kind of when he goes, it's probably not a good idea for us to make these things because we don't want them leaked and stuff. So but this is and Baby Yoda or Grogu has exploded, and it's the perfect example of it being so popular and also building demand. Like that has built demands throughout the year to kind of thing. So it's kind of it's a big kind of that's a success story in the sense of, as you said, artistic value and also monetary merchandise.
But don't cash in early when you can cash in much better later is the business side of it. Don't ruin your creative opportunity because you'll end up with a better product long term is the creative side of it. So it's like win, win, win. Baby Yoda, exactly. Grogu has win written all over him.
Yeah,
Or
exactly. And there's other movies that there's plenty of other movies that haven't followed that suit in the sense that they've released a lot of their merchandise prior to it. And they haven't ruined their chances and stuff like that. They use it slightly as like advertisements kind of processes and stuff, which is interesting. Um, which is I think some of the trans not many of the Transformers films came out around this time. They specifically are films that are built on toys rather than the other way around kind of thing. So they're a bit of the other market,
I'm kind of
but they
glad you
do.
went there next, though, because that there, I have a few things to say about Transformers. Sorry, you finish your
I don't
point
know,
though. But yeah,
so like they were blockbuster movies, so they came out around the May kind of May April sorry, not April, May June kind of like July kind of blocks,
yeah,
which is great. But then as soon as kind of I guess they went on a bit, they slowly started going towards the November kind of period and stuff, so that they could cash in on the toy thing because obviously they weren't making as much on the old like cinema kind of releases.
well,
But
that's because the films were obviously getting worse, and you were no longer getting the young audience ticket sales and the mature audience ticket sales because the mature audiences were like, I don't think I'll watch that in the cinema. I may well watch it at home. They were cannibalizing themselves by not making a quality movie product. And yeah, there were summer blockbusters.
mhm.
And
but
the
like yeah,
well, go
sorry,
on.
go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead. You first.
But it's an interesting kind of thing because they saw an opportunity because I guess our kind of the mood of going to see something around the Christmas times happens and stuff, and I think your expectations lowers a little bit around the Christmas times, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that it becomes the event of going out and watching a movie during this period rather than what you go to see.
Yeah.
So like they were capitalizing on that, and most of the time, this event of going out during the Christmas time to watch something, you're bringing the kids along.
Mm.
It's kind of like a big family event and stuff. So they were capitalizing on kind of like getting the kids into the cinemas during November times. Now, this is especially to do with Bumblebee as well, because Bumblebee is one of the major ones, and also the last one, who was kind of a restart of the series.
Yeah.
Not a restart, a
A,
reboot.
a rebirth, let's say. They were trying
Hmm.
to inject it with new life again.
Yeah, so they capitalized that on much because the good thing about that one was that they had a very few amounts of toys or like Transformers in it, and also they were all brand new looking. Like they weren't from the Transformers series stuff; they were all different looking ones. Which is like Bumblebee is slightly the same, but not enough that like you would make you
Well, they
as a
went. I
collector
haven't
or as
seen
a
the movie, but
child.
I know from the trailer they used the classic Beetle look more than
Mm,
once, which is don't get me wrong. I love me a Camaro, but I grew up when I grew up. Darn it! In my day, Bumblebee were a Beetle, or a Bug. If you're one of our American viewers, the thing
mm,
I wanted to throw in about Transformers, the reason almost the opposite to Star Wars. Star Wars created a toy craze after it. Transformers, as the original, the movies wouldn't exist without the cartoon and the toy line. When I was a kid, and that cartoon wouldn't exist except they needed to sell toys or wanted to sell toys. The reason those animated shows like G.I. Joe and Transformers and all the rest of that existed was to get around legislation of how you could advertise toys to kids. So they were like, yeah, you can't run more than, whatever it was, 10 seconds worth of animation in your ad. But if you make it a whole cartoon, you can feature your toys all over the place, talking and walking and messing around with each other, and the kids get to imagine that. I know I did. So it's the other side of that toy to entertainment direction. So when they came along and they were rebooting it, I completely understand why they went summer blockbuster. But it's so obvious, like you say, why they then slid towards the our real money here with our level of artistic output is going to drop, but we got to make sure we keep our back end toy sales up. And
mhm.
Bumblebee having new looks, Bumblebee will have a new look for every movie they ever make with him, just so they can have a new toy. And
Yeah.
don't hate the player, hate the game. That's how money works, I guess.
Well, that's the thing. So like I get that's the kind of side of movies kind of going around the November December things and why they do it and the different kind of like things. They're either advertising their movie with them or they're advertising the toys specifically. Now there's interesting facts of movies that definitely seem like they should be. Unless you want to talk more
Well,
about.
no, I want to throw in a couple of mentions of good examples of that November. Toy Story. I
Mm,
look, okay, it's a bit of a gimme since it's in the name, but Toy Story
yeah,
is a great example of hey, when we launch this, if it lands, we're going to sell a load of toys. It features toys. But I think the one that kind of surprised me when I thought and I wanted to check all its release dates is actually one closer to your heart, Harry Potter. Harry
yeah,
Potter, more than half of the series comes out in that kind of November block. Now they do jump around, and it's obviously for production reasons and distance between movie reasons, etc., etc. But the first couple in particular, they knew because they had come from a book that was aimed at both children and adult audiences that had been incredibly popular with both children and adult audiences, had already started selling merch just as a literary book series. So they knew when we make this movie, we're going to be able to sell a lot of 50 quid wands here. We're going to sell a
yeah,
lot of these things. And they also maybe not knew it on the first movie, but once they had a few under their belt, they were like, yeah, we can be the Christmas thing. We can be something that people buy, not just for little boys or little girls, but for both. So it was a real powerhouse all the way to going, I wonder if we could make a Universal Studios theme park attraction out of this as well. Like it ticks every commercial box. And I there's no way it isn't a perfect example of that November movie.
yeah.
So
Like
yeah,
that's
go for it.
like that's the big thing. Like Harry Potter is an interesting one because like later on they were even so big and they didn't need to worry about the toy market in the sense of advertising their toys that they were able to move some of their more darker later movies to maybe some of the kind of blockbustery moments and stuff. But
Exactly.
so it's an interesting kind of turn of events with those as well. So
Well, then the only other one I want to give people is the perfect example of something that you're going to have to do at this time of year: Frozen, and Frozen
yeah,
again, an absolute merchandise machine. What a catchy song it was, and it was a really good tune before we heard it a billion times. It's also winter themed, so if you can hit, we're talking about things that are ticking all the boxes. There's another box that they managed to tick. They had a seasonal film that was aimed at the family audience that could sell adorable Olafs and princess dresses and all the rest, and it was perfect. What are you going to do on a snowy evening? Oh, let's watch Frozen. Yay. So you got to respect Hollywood's creativity and timing and their
yeah.
business sense.
I still really enjoy the fact that when I went to see that film for the first time in the cinema, I had no idea what it was about, and my partner was just, I was just like, "What's this about? What's this movie about?" And she just turned to me and just went to ice, and I was like, "Great, cool, thanks." Like,
Yeah, and
um,
actually, you know what? I it took me a while. I'm not going to lie, it took me a while before I saw it. So I'd heard the song quite a few times before I ever saw the movie. Didn't diminish the movie. It did diminish the moment with the song. I will be completely honest. Also, something I haven't seen, Minions. I wanted to throw it in here as another great example. You can see the theme here. You
yeah,
design your movie with something that already looks like a ready-made toy classic, and man, did they pull it off.
yeah, which is interesting because there's also some films that definitely like Lego Movie and stuff like that that do not like advertise around the or they do not release around the November December marks, but they are based on toys, and it's because that they're an already established, um, they're
And,
already an established kind of
and
toy
we
manufacturer.
didn't
So
even compare notes, and there's a reason that there's a Lego image already loaded. Exact same thinking. It's I think that's the best example in the world of toy movies about toys. Don't it doesn't matter what time of year it's going to come out if it's something like Lego.
yeah,
They're a Christmas staple anyway. So they were actually trying to boost a new line of revenue. They weren't actually trying to sell more Lego. They were trying to do a Marvel on it and go into a new platform. They were like, we used to do, Marvel used to do comics. We're going to do movies. They weren't necessarily thinking to sell more of anything. They wanted to see if they could make their movies work. Same thing with Lego. And so far, 2 movies in, it's kind of worked for Lego. I know there's a sequel on the way because there's the Batman one and the original movie. I think Lego 2 is out. Was going
Yeah.
to be out this year, was it?
Oh no, Lego 2 is already out. Yeah,
Oh, did it come out and I missed it? Oh,
yeah, that one's already out.
oh,
That was an interesting one. It has Richie Arwada in it,
yeah.
which is really
From the
weird.
IT crowd.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He has like appeared in things that I did not think he would appear in.
Like
He's in
Mandalorian.
Star Wars. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So Star Wars and that kind of there's like Lego Movie and also some of the other ones like GI Joe back in the day when it came out. It was more also trying to punch in the kind of like toy as well as kind of actiony movie kind of revenue and stuff like that. But you mentioned there Marvel.
Mhm.
Now Marvel tends to stay. There's only a few Marvel movies that ever come out around this time, and they're very specific ones. So
I'm just loading them up, and I agree because again, without even comparing notes, I had this ready. Because yeah, I think Marvel is a great example of somebody who doesn't need their motivation wasn't when they started it off wasn't even to have the MCU. Iron Man was a
mhm,
bit of a Hail Mary. Like it was a long throw downfield, and
yeah,
when it worked, they didn't have the time to kind of go let's strategically make toy movies for Christmas or try and become an event. They were like, actually, I think we could be a summer blockbuster juggernaut, and then they realized actually we're an all year long juggernaut, which is impressive.
yeah. Like that's the big thing is, but there is a certain set of movies of the Marvel universe that come around this time, and there's a very particular reason for those movies. Do you have those lined up as well? Because this is going to be
No,
interesting.
I don't know. I didn't have a whole lot of time,
So
so I just I think the people you're about to
no,
mention are on screen though, because you're going to mention Thor and probably Doctor Strange in the next few minutes.
it's mostly Doctor Thor or Doctor Thor, Thor. Yeah,
Great crossover, Paul. Don't knock it, Feige, if you're listening.
yeah. Copyrighted. Well, so you can't copyright there. But
We could try.
Thor comes around the November area, and the reason for that is because Thor is actually the most one of the most popular toy ranges that they have, and it's very particular. Like as in everybody loves Captain America and everybody loves Iron Man and stuff like that, but Thor for some reason has exploded on the popularity of for young children,
Wow.
which goes so that's why they've actually particularly targeted around the Thor mark or Thor movies to be around the kind of as far as they can do it the November kind of period, which is an interesting kind of like tidbit in the sense that they've now slightly changed the scheduling of movies being released specifically to coincide with their most popular toy being around the Christmas region.
There you
Now,
go.
obviously, Captain America and all the like Hulk and everything are all round sellers and everything. So is Thor, but it seems like it picks up the most during the Christmas period, which is
Wow.
that's an interesting little bit of
That is
like
interesting,
research that I found.
and that's not only is it interesting, but it's surprising because you do assume, particularly with the popularity of Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, and the prevalence of Iron Man kind of toys that you see. But that doesn't actually translate into real world sales. I can imagine Thor being quite the holiday season gift. All his apparel, all his, a hammer is a great thing. Um,
Yeah,
kids do love a hammer. Anything that they can swing and hit. And it's not, Hulk fists are great and all, but that's not like being. Only your hands become the Hulk when you're holding Hulk fists, and only your head becomes Iron Man when you put on the helmet. You pick up the hammer, you're all Thor, baby. So
yeah,
yeah, it kind of works. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah. So like it's an interesting breakdown as well because like although Thor is the most popular for younger kids and stuff, he isn't the most popular for which get the collectors market.
Of course.
The collector market actually prefers the ensemble, and also the collector's market also prefers a lot of the characters that haven't been on screen, which is another interesting kind of like change of pace with them. Like they really enjoy, and you also see spikes in when a new movie is announced or that they're going to be in a movie, their merchandise spikes for a very short period of time. Like when Mrs. Marvel or Captain Marvel was announced, which goes their comic book range and any Captain Marvel toys ranges that were prior to the movies spiked as well. So that's an interesting kind of like, I
Yeah.
guess,
And I
like,
guess it's worth noting, and we did say it for the Disney part. Again, all under the one umbrella now, the massive, Disney empire. But they do also spread all the way from toys for toddlers to retirees with enough money to buy a real kind of full metal, um, period correct Captain America shield, and the 8 foot figurine of Hulk, or 8 foot replica of Hulk for their living room. So you've got people spending the $2 or €2 toys, and then the $20,000 toys, so, or collectibles. I think anything that, when you tie it back, anything to do with Disney, be it under their Lucasfilm, their Marvel, or even their own Pixar, or just Disney, there's usually a lot of genius behind their merchandise and marketing.
yeah, like that's the thing, because it doesn't just coincide with that, with just the Marvel films being released in April and May and stuff. There's also the fact that like, Pixar and DreamWorks, their kind of animated films and stuff, don't tend to be released. Some of them do tend to be released if they're very specifically targeted, but some of them don't actually target around this area. They specifically target later or like earlier. It depends on how you see it. Earlier on in the year from December kind of thing. And that's
Yeah,
actually to build up traction. Because although Pixar has had a absolute killing kind of movies and stuff like that from the last like decade, which is they don't know which kind of toys or which characters from those movies are ever going to actually pick up. It's actually interesting. I have not seen large amounts of toys of the Wreck-It Ralph series, you
right.
know, but and it's specifically that they weren't as popular toy wise as they were as a video game, because they did actually make a small video game of Wreck-It Ralph,
Yeah, makes sense.
you know, but it so like they tend not to try to target the specific November December markets because they don't know what's going to sell, and there's no point in them manufacturing a whole bunch of like Wreck-It Ralph toys in case they don't make it. So what they do is they release earlier on the year, see if the kind of build up is trending and stuff like that, and then maybe ramp up there. So there are Wreck-It Ralph toys out there and
Oh,
stuff,
of course, yeah. They're
like, but they
not to
would
the same
ramp up their
level as the
marketing.
others. Yeah.
Yeah, like they would, once they find out, like when Get Inside Out came out and it became a big huge hit, that's like their toy production ramped up considerably, in the sense that I couldn't get away from like sadness and anger and stuff like
I
that for
still
quite a
can't.
considerable
I
amount
still
of
can't. But it's been a tough year.
time. Oh, I'm
I,
sorry.
I think though, like that's all credits to, and let's just, I guess, call Pixar out, because that's part of all this. But like the creative side of this, Toy Story did come out. Called it out as November. Monsters Inc. similarly November. But these are films where you just know that it makes sense to have the movie and then have your toy lines for that big young audience, toy sales time of year, the cuddly toy side of year. Like Monsters Inc., it was going to have sold a lot of plush toys. There's just, before they animated the first frame, they would have known that. But then you've got other things, like you say, like Wreck It Ralph, Up. They're not just making movies to create merch. And anybody who says that they just make the movie to sell the toy, I think that doesn't bear out to be true. I just think when the opportunity presents itself, like good business people, they maximize everything. It'd be the same as us giving out for any of the other films we mentioned. Jurassic Park, it came out in the middle of the summer. Oh, because no, well, it's because it's summer blockbuster season. Well, yeah, it just wanted to be a blockbuster. No, it just was. Films come out at certain times of year for good reasons, for good business reasons, for good reasons around when people are going to be in the mood to see that type of movie. So yeah, I don't hold any weight in the argument of it's so terrible when they just make a movie to sell toys. Even Transformers doesn't fit that bill. They were already selling toys. They were actually trying to get a movie franchise out of it and sell more toys, but it was all part of it. So yeah, I think I'm kind of, as the kind of the rounding of all this, I'm kind of into it. That if you're going to make a movie called Cars, that yeah, I'm fine. You know, Cars and well, not planes so much, but Cars, the Pixar thing. It
Yeah,
it's like number 8 in the list of all time merch films. And you know, Planes got a theme park ride. Like, why would they not do it? But they did make the movie first. It's not my favorite movie, but they made the movie. People enjoyed the movie. I can't begrudge them making the merch that we all go and buy. You know, I've owned movie merch. In fact, you know, nobody ever complains that Batman 1989, it didn't come out at Christmas, but it's because it knew it was about to create a huge T-shirt, poster, and Batman symbol branding craze for all of the
yeah,
rest of 1989.
yeah.
So,
Like
and I'm not
that's
going
an
to be mad at
amazing.
it.
Yeah, like it's like I would say that for the majority of movies, in a sense, there are a small group of movies that are very much targeting the toy markets and stuff like that. Like,
Trolls,
as in, huh?
trolls, maybe.
Not even trolls, but there's the movies like Bratz and stuff like Bratz, and
Yeah,
the movies that are based on toys that are brought out around the November December time that we don't ever hear
yeah,
about because
yeah.
because one thing is that they're not one for one
I
thing
should have said
we're
ones
in
that are
Europe.
marketed to an entire age range audience. You know, movies that are
Well,
marketed to everybody, but then there are the ones that are really aimed at the target child buying audience.
it's not even it's interesting because it's not even just the age range. Bratz and stuff like that was a cinema release, but only in America, and it's because that they're more popular in America than they are in Europe. And there is a large amount of like movies that do come out around the Christmas time that are based on toy franchises, but are only released essentially for the states and certain select countries, and it's because that they're more popular there than they are anywhere
Yeah.
else. So like those ones, I'm like you can't really argue they are
Well,
particularly,
yeah.
but for the most part, yeah, I don't think there's ever a kind of I think there is a department of merchandising that are can't wait for the movie, but the movie and stuff like that is its own thing.
It's
You
true.
know, like the company is a lot like many of these companies are many moving parts and stuff, so like they are kept separate as well as feeding into each other. Um,
And I'll give them credit. I think it's more honest to have your minions, you know, your Despicable Me, knowing that you're going to sell a bunch of minions, where they're an actual part of your storyline, than it is to watch James Bond hold a Sony Ericsson phone every second scene. So you know, just because it's not Christmas doesn't mean you're trying to not trying to sell stuff to people. So I have more of a problem with product placement than turning your product into more products.
yeah,
I'm kind of okay with that. I don't think there's anything underhanded about Star Wars going, we're going to have another type of stormtrooper, because I enjoy another type of stormtrooper. I'm not going to go out and buy it because I'm not a collector or any of that, but I kind of like it, you know. Some people will say,
hmm
well, they didn't need to. Was it just to make the extra? Hey, look, it's a creative choice and it happens to help business. Why not?
yeah, like that's the thing. Um, yeah, and there's other kind of moments of like I guess the product placement thing we should do if we haven't already. It'll be an interesting kind of one because like all you have to do is just watch Wayne's World, and just see how like because they just blatantly put it in, like in the sense that they it's a parody as well as like they were asked to do it kind of thing. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's kind of just like we're contractually obliged to show us drinking Pepsi so and eating Doritos and having Domino's and Pizza Hut, yeah.
yeah,
So why not make it so blatant it's a funny bit, kind of
exactly.
thing.
Oh, and hey,
So,
look, you can thank brands sometimes. Like Subway helped Community, the TV show, keep going. I'm all for brands helping out, but then you have the James Bonds of this world, which we will. Yeah, let's do a product placement episode sometime next year. And I would say one James Bond film alone will give us enough material to fill an entire show because
well, the
they
good
are
thing is
ridiculous.
if the new one comes out anytime around, we should do it then
Oh
because then we
yeah,
can literally take the new one and show the product placement of maybe possibly in that.
I
Just
can't wait to
alone.
see what mobile phone tie-in they have this time because that's always the worst. The cars are pretty obvious, and the watches not so much. But the phones, the amount of extra long shots with a nicely focused up logo, And God forbid now with blank faced, all glass fronted phones, there'll be a brand on the back. It'll be like an Ericsson or a whatever branded case from now on.
Well, there's an interesting case. It's just going on to the branding thing for a little bit. When in movies when they use apples, Apple automatically has the logo on the back of all their products. It has the back of their screens and also the back of their laptops. Microsoft have never had that before, simply because they didn't have any kind of technology, but now they do.
Surface.
Like, yeah, so like it's really interesting to now see, particularly because like Dell used to do it, IBM,
Yeah.
like playing Sony, like
Yeah.
Samsung, any like you can see them laptops and stuff like that in the like forcefully showing you a logo of their like or cameras and stuff as
And
well.
I'll be honest, Paul, I'm not above it. If anybody out there would like to sponsor us, Sony, Microsoft, whoever, you can have the entire background of. In fact, you can replace my face, and Paul will talk to a logo that speaks. Um, I will happily take your money and sell out with no issues at all. Um,
Like,
Paul, I want to give one shout out to the comments. Party time, excellent. In reference to your Wayne's World, I did want to shout out just because I think unless you have a lot more to add, I think we're heading towards wrap up. So I wanted to ask anybody out there, get your comments in now if you want to talk about your favorite toy related movie or call out something that we haven't covered.
yeah, like I have one last thing, but it's kind of it ties the other thing up. It ties it everything up. In recent years, the kind of movie, advertisement movie, or the movie that kind of like helps advertise it has gone less and less. And the reason, have you noticed that as well when you were researching this? That like in the last like probably 5 to 10 years, the movies in which openly trying to advertise kind of like toys, and I don't mean as we spoke that it's a movie to advertise toys. It's a movie that has possibility of merchandise, and those have gone down considerably. Like, and they've targeted different areas and stuff. And it's not the whole build up thing as well. It's the fact is that TV shows have now become TV and cartoons and stuff like that have become so. We're now in the golden age of TV,
Yep.
and like the TV industry specifically targeting children has exploded in its merchandise. Pepper Pig has become one of the most popular toys around and stuff like that. Cartoon networks like Slatham of cartoons have now
Stranger
become
Things.
merchandises.
I have a niece who, for the last 2 years and again this year, will be getting more Stranger Things stuff, and she wasn't old enough to see it and hadn't seen it, but was into Stranger Things without ever having seen it because it was it's a cultural phenomenon for her age group and uh, girls 11, the main character. It seemed to resonate with certain audience just on merch alone. So yeah, TV can pull down the big numbers in ancillary sales.
And this is yeah, because it's TV doesn't have to have the isn't set to a specific time zone or a time kind of area, because they are spread out through months and stuff like that of releasing stuff. So like they can now advertise one of their biggest kind of like I guess sellers of toys, like, or their episode that's going to kind of really plug to kind of like stuff in the Christmas episode. But for the rest of the year, it's just the TV show that still generates interest in the merchandise. So this is also the reason why movies have started to do it less and less.
Yeah.
It's because of the TV shows have just been able to take the mantle of that.
Also,
And not
you
to say,
build a brand. You don't sell a toy anymore. You build a brand, and you don't sell Iron Man's helmet. You sell the MCU. You build a brand, and that's what you leverage from. You get your Stranger Things.
yeah, like that's the interesting kind of it's the interesting kind of thing now where movies have now taken over the thing. Do you want to go to the?
No, I was giving you the though we've got a comment in there that I'm oh we've now got another one. I want to show this to you, Paul. I did the research. We probably found number sites in the same places. The question came in from Nora to say, I wonder which toy related to a movie sold the most. Assuming it was Elsa and Frozen. I only found at a franchise level, not a single toy. Obviously, Star Wars still holds the record by quite some margin for toys. Frozen is up there though. I think if you did take single toy, I don't know if Elsa would have beaten your Darth Vader, because I think Darth Vader alone is still massive and has had a 40-year head start.
Yeah, I would say that it's probably one of the older franchises,
Yeah.
like Darth Vader
But
or or even just lightsabers.
percentage of sales in, to ratio of years, as in for units per year of being out, I imagine Frozen probably would take the top spot. But I didn't find those numbers. We've got another one here. Jeremy Bulloch, the actor who played Boba Fett in the original Star Wars trilogy, has passed away at the age of 75. Oh, well, Brew, thanks very much for shouting that in, because it's always nice. We're talking about branding here. Hear us out, branded away as we are, like, subscribe, and share. But there's one other thing. Sometimes when we're either just about to record, before we went, in the days when we did our recordings in studio, but now being live, when stuff like this happens, it's nice to take a moment and say, hey, to Jeremy Bulloch's family, sorry for your loss. Just be happy knowing that he was part of something that gave so many people around the world so much joy. And Boba Fett was absolutely one of the breakout stars of Star Wars, considering percentage of screen time versus percentage of fame, the most famous character of all of Star Wars for the amount of screen time he had.
Yeah.
It's impressive. So, yeah, R.I.P. Boba Fett.
Yeah, I like that's a very sad thing to hear, and like we won't be trying to kind of capitalize on it in any
No.
kind of way. But yeah, we're very sad to hear that happened.
So there you go.
So,
And
yeah.
I think that's the kind of note that maybe we need to end on, Paul. I
I
would.
was
Sorry, go on.
just gonna look up what's the most popular toy of all time,
I
just
couldn't
to see if
find
there's
it.
any.
I couldn't find it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's Barbie.
Oh yeah, but that yeah
As in it's
yeah. Oh
as
oh,
in
just toy of all time. Yeah.
yeah, just to see where it kind of ranks, because Barbie does have several movies and stuff, but they are once again specifically movies that are targeting toys,
Well,
kind of thing.
they haven't made the Rubik's Cube movie yet, but they will. Give them time, or have they? Oh God, don't even look it up, folks. We got to get out of here before we find out there was a Rubik's Cube movie and I have to watch it. Because as of last week's episode, anybody who was watching, I did watch The Courier with Gary Oldman. We didn't end up doing a whole episode about it tonight, which means it wasn't the greatest film of all time. In fact, it was pretty much as pants as expected. I'm never getting that
Yeah.
hour and a half back.
So just to say probably the closest one that we all know, Transformers. Transformers is probably the top. It was in the top five. So
Yeah.
there you go. But yeah, I didn't get to see The Courier. I got to see the first 5 minutes of it and was just like, well, nope, this isn't going to be.
And I stuck with it, damn you.
No. I
I'm glad
wasn't.
you didn't.
I will continue to watch it. It was just that I was starting to watch it and then just went, nope, this is going to take a lot more time for me to
Yeah.
digest. So
Yeah, you might have to watch it 2 or 3 times before you actually get why anybody bothered making it. Oh, you'll understand the premise. You won't know why they bothered continuing to film. Anyway, Paul, thank you very much. What am I getting for Christmas from you? I guess we'll find out on the next episode.
oh.
Yeah. I've had a lot of fun. I hope all of you who joined us hit like. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. If you're watching this in the future, I hope you have or have had a happy Christmas and got the toy movie merch of your dreams.
Yeah, which is pretty much the same thing. Happy Christmas, everybody. Happy Christmas in the future, in the past. Happy New Year. Doing all the holiday things. Hope you got what you. Hope you were good enough that Santa gave you something. Yeah, like, subscribe, give us a present with your sharing out and liking and subscribing.
Nice one.
Which is so.
So ho ho ho. I've been Patrick,
And I've been Paul.
and we've been Here Us Out, and we will see you next time.
See you later.